Yeah, this hasn't been the easiest video to um make, only because I have the laptop recording the audio and then the phone recording the video. And that's because I couldn't use the AirPods, my microphones, or this microphone because it's a USB-C. Yeah, troubles of having an iPhone, huh? Or at least an older iPhone. Anyways, talking about technology, um, I'd like to talk a little bit about AI and how um maybe just the future of humanity with AI. Now, recently I was at this Muslim Jummah prayer, and the Imam was talking about how we have so much information yet not much knowledge. And it occurred to me that the the lack of information and the lack of accessibility creates a much more quiet ecosystem in order to be able to produce ideas and thoughts and gain knowledge. You read books in a library in a quiet place. You can't expect your brain to understand or even like conceptualize and compartmentalize ideas in a more loud uh like spheres that we kind of live in nowadays, social media and the like. And it dawned upon me that we have to kind of go back to how it was before. In an individual sense, I don't think we can go as a society anymore back to just more quietness. I think recently I was at a camping trip, and I think that was where I thought the most. That's where a lot of the ideas of for these videos comes from. And that's where I think I've had the most success. Now, I say I think a lot. I should stop that, and that's probably one of the reasons why I started this video channel to work on my speech, right? Anyways, let's go back to the topic. It's a lot easier to just learn from yourself, learn who you are, and get those thoughts out when you do have that quiet space. And I was watching a video from one of my friends, and it was talking about how he was talking about how he just moved to a new city and his thoughts of it. And one of the things he says is combating my thoughts, right? I think that's part of what I'm trying to get at, where we are kind of like in shackles nowadays. Our brains are in shackles because there's so much happening around us. You scroll past every single video with different ideas, different content pieces, all that stuff, and it's almost like it's a blitz attack, you know? Video after video after video after video, and your brain just doesn't have the capacity to just hold all that information and kind of make sense of it anymore. And I don't know, you don't see any more Newtons or Albert Einsteins, right? It's just a lot of people who think they know what they're talking about, a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about stuff. And we kind of take that for as kind of the truth, right? Because they sound super confident when talking about it. It's like we've reached a point where we just regurgitate what others say, and we don't have ideas of our own anymore. And I'm a victim of this, right? I'd watch a video on YouTube or a podcast, and some of the ideas might sound like great ideas, and I'd probably just say them to my friends whenever I see them. And even though I'm not the one who brought that, like produced that idea, it kind of makes it sounds good in my head, and therefore I try to like make it look like it's mine. And we don't sit down and think about our ideas anymore. Take that part out. We kind of just depend on others, people who are not experts in the fields, talk about stuff, and they would talk about it in such a way that would make you think that is the truth. I mean, you see that in a lot of different spheres. You got the Andrew Tates of the world, um, the Nick Fuenteses of the world, and they just talk about stuff, and you kind of believe it because the way they say it, they're super confident with what they're saying. They're super precise too. And at first you're like, oh, this is irrefutable. Like, wow, this has to be the truth. But once you dig into it, deep into it, it's a little bit more nuanced. And you kind of have to look at it from a different view and kind of understand all of it. And I think there's so much of that going on right now that we are kind of being ordered to like be 100% aware of all the stuff going on in the world, whether it's wars, trade offer, whatever it might be, so, sports, pop culture, all that stuff. And if you sit down and think about it, we kind of know nothing, right? I've reached a point where I don't think I can maybe procure like this idea or write a book about a whole like idea that I believe in because all the ideas that I do believe in come from other people. Uh, and it's a slippery slope. It's like, you watch those like movies of like dictators or whatever, and it'd be like a satiric movie about like a dictator or like a leader, and the whole nation just agrees with what they say. It's like a band of yes men's. It's a cult almost. And we're like, we're so far away from that. But I'm not saying we're in the precipice of it, but we're heading towards that direction. I was watching a movie, it's called Idiocracy, and you kind of watch stuff in our world and you're like, wait, this movie came out like 15, 16 years ago, and it's talking about stuff that is happening now? I was like this potato cutting channel, and you get the gist, I guess. The main point is we have to be more aware of our thoughts, of our ideas, of our ecosystems, and try to be individuals when it comes to opinions. And I'm not saying be contrarian, but find your ideas after a journey of thoughts, of thinking, of experiences, and not just from like a video. And maybe practice that, Maybe in the next like couple days, just think to yourself about something and go down that rabbit hole, right? With your brain and just like that battle, that fist fight with your brain and see where it leads you. And I think that's just a good step for anyone to do. And I'll do it too, because we are not, we're becoming more like groups. We're being like, it's so easy to just split people nowadays into identities and move them as far apart as like from each other as possible, right? Religious, ethnic, even sports. I mean, it's so easy to I always watched like the news and it would be like a Colts fan attacked a Cowboys fan, right? You're like, what? But it's so much more common than you think because it's so easy to put people against each other and feed that conflict or that like friction into becoming something more than what it should be. And a good step to fighting that is trying to be your own person and identify with whatever you think and try to get to know yourself better. And that also comes from listening to other people's ideas and like understanding them, but not taking them as your guidance or compass. Okay? It's been Mustafa. Peace.